Hey everyone, welcome to Reddit Readout. Today we are checking out Malicious Compliance. Story 1. How I managed my first micromanager. Back in 2010 I was working in a training management area within a government department. The job was fairly easy for me. When my original supervisor went on extended leave, so I got a new supervisor that we will call Agatha. Almost immediately Agatha started to micromanage me even though she didn't really know my job that well, or even half of what my role entailed. Now I will say that I didn't particularly like Agatha as a person, but I tried to get along with her. Even when her management style started to show. In hindsight I should have worked some internal politics to be removed from the area, but hey, no one said I was smart at 19. The section started to have some underlying tension until one day she called me into a meeting and, long convo cut short, said the magic words, "You need to do what I tell you to do and not what you think you need to do." She even followed it up by emailing me words to the same effect. Now I did two things on the heels of that meeting. Firstly, I printed out the email to keep in my bag, drawer, pocket, and on my wall. Secondly, I started to do what she said, and only what she said. At first she would just tell me the jobs that needed completing. But she only got worse when she noticed the work wasn't getting done and started to tell me how to do things. Again I complied and only did exactly what she told me and how she told me to do it. If she missed a step in her instructions I would either skip it if I could move on, or ask her to explain again as I couldn't figure it out. I was a damn good employee. I even went out of my way to start asking her what I should be doing and how. After every task. If she wasn't in the area, which was very common, I would just wait for her to come back. If she wanted to micromanage me I would make her work for it. She was getting nothing done, we were getting further and further behind. This went on for about a month. The reputation of our section was tanking internally and externally. Enter Michelle, Agatha's boss. She noticed all my questions and the general drop in productivity, morale, and reputation. She pulled me aside and asked me what was happening, considering I am normally so competent/efficient and don't ask many questions about how to do the work. Small aside, Michelle was a fantastic boss and generally preferred a more hands-off approach when she could. She clearly was giving Agatha enough rope to either make a ladder or something else. Okay, back to the story. I explained to Michelle how Agatha was managing me and I was just trying to help her management style by leaning into it. I also showed her Agatha's email. At this point I estimated I could get everything caught up in about a week without working any extended hours if things changed. Michelle, being a good boss, simply asked what it would take for me to go back to working the way I always have. I only asked to not be managed by Agatha anymore. I could have been much more insidious with my request, but I only wanted to be left alone to do my work. To my surprise it worked. I immediately started reporting directly to Michelle. I got the work caught up in 3 days, surpassing even my own expectations. As for Agatha, she started to have her work examined a lot more closely. Including her overall output since, I found out later, she was trying to blame me for her low work output. It turned out that I was in fact the solution. Michelle ended up sharing Agatha's workload between the two of us and we didn't really notice much difference. Agatha however did notice a difference as she was shuffled into another area of the department. One with a lot less responsibility and a whole hell of a lot less promotion opportunity. I ran into Agatha again after I had moved around the country a few times. I ended up back in the same office, but a different section. Agatha was still in the same shitty position. Same level too. Her personal reputation was so bad that only a handful of people would actually work with her. It felt good to know how stuck she was/presumably still is. TLDR, new manager tried to micromanage me, so I only did what she said and nothing more until her boss stepped in. Story 2. And he wonders where I get it from. My dad was in the Air Force for 20 years and at one point, he was forced to take 2 tests to move up a rank. He didn't want to, it would have meant moving again and responsibilities he didn't want, but he had to take them. He decided to intentionally fail. I got the lowest scores in the AF for my professional and skills tests intentionally. I posted them to show I could have likely aced them but chose not to. My chief threw a fit about it and insisted I take them down. I stated that I was proud of my scores like the others in my shop that were selected for promotion. If I had to take them down and the others didn't, I stated that I would file a complaint against the chief for discrimination. My scores stayed on my overhead bulletin board until I retired. Story 3. Unqualified manager tried to save costs. How a technicality accelerated them instead, at a particle accelerator facility. I worked at a particle accelerator facility for several years, and one of the things we prided ourselves on was our meticulous attention to detail. When handling particles that moved near the speed of light, precision wasn't just desired, it was essential. Our facility had a maze of beam paths, allowing us to direct particle beams for different experiments. These paths could be long and winding, depending on the nature of the experiment. There was one important rule: the longer the beam path, the more expensive it was in terms of energy consumption. Enter Steve, with a PhD in astrophysics. He was book smart but not an expert on particle accelerators. Yet, he took charge of our facility. His latest decree? Cutting costs. He sent a memo stating that all beam paths had to be optimized for the shortest distance between the start and end points. On the surface, this made sense: shorter distances should mean less energy used. But those familiar with our work knew it wasn't always that straightforward. To ensure we were compliant, Steve demanded we send him a report detailing the distance of each experiment's beam path. And here's where it got interesting: he didn't specify whether he wanted the geometric or actual beam path. Spotting a chance for some malicious compliance, I decided to give Steve exactly what he asked for. I drafted a comprehensive report detailing the geometric distance of each path. These distances, of course, were significantly shorter than the actual paths the beams took. Steve, thinking he had uncovered massive inefficiencies, rushed to implement these optimized paths in a trial run without consulting the team, which was strictly against protocol. The result was catastrophic. Beams misfired, causing damage to sections of the facility and destroying expensive equipment. An emergency meeting was called. Dr. Johnson, a senior scientist, took the floor. So, Steve, you didn't realize your paths had the beams running directly through walls and equipment? She projected an overlay of the actual equipment layout against Steve's optimized paths, revealing the expensive shortcuts. Steve's face turned a shade of red I'd never seen before, and he began to blame me for the debacle. I defended myself: that's exactly what I provided, thinking it was theoretical. I wasn't aware you'd bypass protocols and actually run the beam. The aftermath? I got off scot-free, while Steve was severely reprimanded and told to always follow protocol and to consult with experts. Many of us enjoyed a little paid vacation while the facility underwent some repairs. Story 4. Minor Basic Training MC. Short and sweet. We had to climb up an obstacle course called the Warrior Tower. The last step was to hook our self-made rope harness up and belay down the 30 side of the tower. Most people took 4 to 10 hops to jump down. I did it in one. First initial big kick-off, one jump halfway down, then I hit the grass. Immediately a DS was in my face and yelling, "Private! Why the hell did you jump down so fast?" To which I replied, "Drill Sergeant. You told me to get off your tower, Drill Sergeant." He got this odd look on his face and said, "So I did. Now fall in." But when I ran off I saw a smirk on his face, smiley face. Story 5. Don't make your tenants do your job for you. It can and will backfire on you. Hello. I love the idea of malicious compliance, but up until recently I never thought I'd have a good story to tell. After the last few weeks my friends and I have had, y'all might want to buckle up and grab a snack before reading through this. Names have been changed. Some important backstory: I, 27F, live in an apartment complex that has recently, as of June of 2023, been bought by a new management company. My best friends, Cole 30M and Phoebe 29F, also live in the complex, on the other side. Over the course of the new management's reign, they disabled the resident and rent payment portals we all were using and swapped us over to new portals. I don't know what exactly happened, but it took over a month to get the new portals working, which was a nightmare, but I digress. On August 2nd I went to pay my rent through the new payment portal. As I always do, I checked the breakdown of what my utilities were. Usually this is water, trash, sewer, chem fees, and the tech package the complex includes, since we're charged based on usage. I've been in the apartment I'm in now since September of 2022, and prior to this I lived in the complex in 2 other units for a combined time of around 3 years. Needless to say, I'm very familiar with what my utilities should look like in this complex, specifically the water bill. Much to my surprise and confusion, my water bill was $91. Usually, it's around $30–40. I understand increases happen, but usually I see them towards the beginning of the year, and it's never this much of an increase. Immediately, I emailed the front office to kindly ask what the fuck was going on. The front office's assistant manager told me that it was the water district that made the increase and that the complex had nothing to do with it and they weren't able to do anything about it. It was a very don't shoot the messenger type response. This didn't sit right with me, so I called my friends who live on the other side of the complex to see if they'd seen a similar increase. After they checked their bill breakdown, they let me know that their water bill was double what it usually was at $120. They also reached out to the office, and were told the same thing. Cole pressed further, asking if the front office was going to further investigate this, since it seemed odd for a billing increase to be happening in the middle of the year, let alone this much of an increase, and the front office told him he could research it, but that it wasn't their job. Even though it literally is. Cue malicious compliance. Cole is a very thorough person. He's a data analyst. Asking and answering all the questions is what he does, and let me tell you he's very good at it. Cole reached out to the water district and the water authority in our region multiple times via phone, email, and live chat, and every single time he was given the same answer. We would never raise water rates in the middle of the year, and it would never be by that much. Your complex is lying to you, something isn't right. They need to investigate this further. He took all this information, and compiled an email to send to the front office management, going as far as to cite the meeting minutes from the water authority in regards to their plan when it comes to water price increases over the course of the next few years. Cole also included some other concerns we've all had in regards to the complex, such as gym and pool access, as well as the constantly broken access gates. During my correspondence with the water district, I was informed by an employee by the name of Lisa that our rates increased in January this year. We do not raise them in the middle of the year. Given all the information above, I hope it becomes clear my concern as to the recent increase in our water rates. Cole created graphs and data sheets to completely back up his findings. This data was prepared using the ledger provided to me by the front office and can be replicated by your team for validation. Ultimately, my concern at this point is I am hearing conflicting information from the complex as opposed to the water district and its certified documents which I've attached for the office's convenience. On 2 occasions I have almost been struck by vehicles entering the exit gate. I believe the reason behind this is that no deterrents are set up to stop people entering through the exit gate. Inspection of the area shows that spikes were originally installed, but those spikes do not appear to be in place at this moment. This contradicts signage within the property that says that there is. My spouse, attached, had come to the front office about access to the gym amenity. I am unaware of whom Phoebe had spoken to, but they had stated that they would need to set up the appropriate account to get us to access via a form of wireless locking mechanism. They had also mentioned that we should see this email in 1 to 2 days. It has been roughly 3 weeks. He sent off his email, BCC'd me on it, and we waited. And we waited. Eventually, Cole went back into the front office for some kind of update, and one of the front office workers informed him that he might be able to call our utilities company, UB West, for further clarification of what was going on. So he did that. And UB West confirmed that as of mid-July, they no longer have a contract with our complex. The plot thickens. Cole reached back out to the front office, and was told that our new utilities contract is with a company called Conservice. So we called them. Conservice told us that they only started their contract with our complex on August 1, 2023, and they had no backdated information about any of our billing. So, we called UB West back to see if we could get our hands on backdated information. This is where things start to feel really fishy. UB West escalated our contact up to the financial manager of the contract our complex had with them, and she had some very interesting information. She told Cole and I that she noticed the increase in the water bill, and that she told the leasing office manager, she name-dropped the office manager, that something was wrong and that legally she needed to start an investigation, and she never heard back. Not long after this, their contract was termed. At this point, we were both feeling like real-life detectives. We looked into how the water bill is calculated and issued out to residents for the entire complex, and the more we looked into things the less things made sense with what the front office was telling us. The conflicting information was jarring. At this point, the front office seemed to be getting very annoyed with our persistence, and they told us that if we should take our concerns up with corporate. So we did. Cole reached out to corporate, and forwarded all of the information he had to them, along with the answers he'd gotten from the last time he'd gone into the front office to try to get some answers. Sorry, I'm new and trying to figure this out. When asked about the water bill, we don't have access to this anymore. When asked about my financial reconciliation concerns, showing I have overpaid the property $2,000, we have a button that calls the police attorney on speed dial. When I asked about a reason as to why an update wasn't yet available, have you considered that your car being stolen was a test from God? When my car was stolen from within the property, we are working on security improvements, but corporate. Whenever I ask about the gate, people hoping the gate, when a tenant was shot and killed on premise. Corporate reached back out to him within 24 hours, and said that they would be investigating this, and the district manager called Cole personally after she was able to look into everything, and I mean everything. Unfortunately, I wasn't on that phone call, so I don't know exactly how it went. Cole called me the moment the call ended to update me on the situation. The district manager started the conversation with a genuine apology, and she stated that the entirety of the leasing office staff had been terminated immediately. She apologized profusely about the manager having the audacity to suggest that Phoebe's car being stolen was a test from God, and that that was simply unacceptable. She also assured Cole that an appointment was made to fix the gates and have the exit spikes reinstalled within the week, and that everything else would be personally investigated by her, including the water bills for all tenants in the complex. She also stated that she had no idea that someone had been shot, or that Phoebe's car was stolen, both of which should have been reported to corporate immediately and were not by the leasing office manager. Starting in a few weeks, we should be getting a whole new front office staff sent in directly from corporate. That's all for today. Please don't forget to like and subscribe.